sit right now. We do have a lot of experience. Our firm has been around since around 1948 or so. That's about 70 years. We do a lot of educational and religious structures along with healthcare as well. So we're a very diverse organization and have the capabilities and experience to implement whatever type of project you would like to have happen here at Unity of Louisville. I'm going to start a little bit here. Let me see. I've not used this little thing here. Let me see if I can go properly. Okay, just let me see. It doesn't go all the way up. Okay, it doesn't quite, it's not quite framed there for some reason. We're missing the lower section. Well, anyways, again, JRA Architects, we were retained end of last year to perform an assessment and study of your facilities here, of your campus, and try to determine how possibly to improve those facilities that you have here for the benefit of Unity of Louisville. We worked with WARE constructors, and there are several WARE representatives with us today, and they will introduce themselves as we get to that portion of the program. Again, as noted, we started in November, and we've had 4 previous meetings with the leadership here of Unity of Louisville. And so what you're going to see here next is the result of those meetings. And as Reverend Ray mentioned, this is not a decision-making meeting. This is more to get your feedback on if we're going in the right direction or not the right direction. Now's the time to speak up and say, hey, yes, this looks great, or no, you're going off on a tangent. Here's what we really need. So this is more of a feedback session. So let us know. There are no bad questions. Ask whatever you would like to have as we go through the program here. Boy, oh boy, I wonder if there's any way that we can frame that better. I don't know why that is. Can you put it on like 75% or 80%? We'll see if we can get the whole screen on that. Yeah, it's right now 111%. Let's try and get that down to about 90 maybe. Yeah, that would be fine. We should be able to get it all with that. Let's see how that works. Let's see. Let me go to the next one here. And now it's not forwarding at all. Not sure what's happening. There we go. I'm doing it now. Put it in, well, let me see. Let me try it that way. No, it's not that way. Try it, is it in display mode or anything? And by the way, I do have it, I did bring the, oh, there you go. That's totally framed now. Can you just use the arrow? Maybe just hit the arrow and see if it'll go down. Is it not working? Well, that is strange. Don't want to do that. Looking up there. Rotate. No, we don't do that. No. Huh. And it will not, if you hit the arrow down, it will not take it down. Yeah, why don't you just close it there, Val, and try to open it back up again. So while we're working on that, just to let you know, so we did an assessment. We walked the campus, looked at various infrastructure issues that you have here, structural issues that you have, aesthetic related items. And so we came up with some recommendations for you here as soon as we can get that down. That's working. That'll be fine. That sounds good. Okay. And we'll go down to the next slide. Okay. So here are some of the items that we addressed by the study. We looked at, let me see, I know there's a pointer here, and I'm trying to see how that pointer works. There we go. So we looked at the educational wing conditions, your educational wing over here. We looked at the mechanical infrastructure concerns that you might have. The interior aesthetics on the interior here, the exterior wall. You have some structural issues associated with this south wall of the activity building. We looked at the restrooms here, how we can improve those. The roof maintenance and mobility accessibility, trying to improve for everyone who may be having some issues with mobility, how you can better navigate the various levels that you have here on the campus. Okay, Val, we'll go down to the next slide. Let me see what you, go back up one more. I think there may be, let's see if there's, there we go, yes, there you go. So what we did as we went through it, we looked at the, we feel that perhaps the educational wing may need to be replaced. There's just a whole host of issues associated with your educational wing, plus you need more space and functional areas, and so we thought perhaps we could replace this, and I'll talk about this in more detail here shortly. Your stained glass to be restored and replaced. You got some great stained glass here, and how can we improve upon that? The entry doors here at the vestibules need to be improved upon for better weatherization. We were looking at putting a handicap ramp and creating a plaza here at the front of your campus for mobility accessibility. We're looking at rebuilding this wall on the south face of the activity building due to the structural issues that you have there. What happened was when the roof started leaking up here, the water got back behind the parapet, went down into the masonry and popped it out. It freeze-thawed. And so you've had a lot of deterioration here. We can replace this, or take the brick off, put it back up, and fix all that. But we'll have to replace the flat roofs. I know that you've replaced your tile roof not too long ago, but your flat roofs were not replaced. And so under this project, we would propose to replace the flat roofs so you do not have any more seepage into your facilities. Also looking at rebuilding the porch and canopies here on the activity building. Okay, Val, we can go to the next slide. So your educational wing is right here, and you have a courtyard or meditation garden right here in the center. This is the activity building here, and this is the sanctuary building in the educational wing. So what we're looking at doing, okay, Val, you can go to the next slide. We're looking at removing the educational wing that's highlighted here in yellow. And then building a new educational wing as indicated here will get you a lot more space and functional use. And so we replaced that, so we built this all new. And then we put that, here we go, yeah, you can go ahead, Val, to the next one. So this is how this would look. So this is that educational wing that we would build new. So in the courtyard area, here between the activity building and your sanctuary building, we're going to create a new entranceway. We'll have a handicap ramp that goes from Brook Street down below here. An individual in a wheelchair or who has mobility issues can navigate the ramp to get up to the entry plaza here, would go through these doors, and we would have an elevator here as well as a stairwell here. So this is that space that's in between the sanctuary and the activity building. We would build what we call a vertical connector, circulation connector, that would allow this elevator to access all the levels of your sanctuary building as well as the activity building and the educational wing. So that elevator is going to have several stops. It can open front and back due to the different levels that you have here, so that you can, okay, here's some approval of that already, okay. And so this would actually, in the sanctuary building, where it would come up at is over here in the corner. I'll see if my, it doesn't reach that far. But there, the large gray area, that's where the entry to the elevator would be, back in that corner of the space of the sanctuary building. We more than likely will put some doors on it there, so that when it opens, there will be another set of like a vestibule doors, so it does, if there's a service going on, that it does not disrupt the service. So it would open, people can come out into the vestibule, they can see if there's a service going on, and then discreetly coming into the back of the space here, so that that does not hinder the service that's happening or disrupt it. This is a multiple story, and we'll see that in just a second. We won't go to that now, but I do have a cross section to show you how this works. We also are putting in a open area right here. There's going to be an outdoor space, and the reason for that is you've got these stained glass windows right here. We want to keep those stained glass windows, so there's going to be an open sort of light shaft there to allow natural light in, so we can maintain those windows at that location. In the lower level of the sanctuary space, where you have your social space, we are looking at totally reworking the restrooms down below there and building all new restrooms up to handicap code and current functional conditions. We're also improving some of the offices down below there as well. Then in the educational wing, we are putting in a number of classrooms here, the nursery classroom there and several other classrooms. And these are going to be have movable walls with them so they can open and close. Thus, you can have a very large space or just very small individual classrooms. So we do that a lot and can provide the movable partitions to make that happen. So you can have a number of classrooms or one big large one. Then again, we have some very large restrooms as part of the educational wing. These not only will serve the educational wing, but also the activity building. This will really help you out in your rentals and other activities that you might have in that space, so that these restrooms are accessible from the activity building here. We also separate this so that when this is being utilized by another entity, if you've rented the activity building out, we have doors that secure off the classroom, so these folks cannot get back into your classroom area, but they can access the restrooms. We are also going to improve upon your kitchen that you have. And we have an exit way here that goes out to the alleyway at that point there. We're going to put some security doors here and some other features. I won't get into a lot of the nitty-gritty details at this point unless you have a question on that. But anyways, we're having to provide the proper egress out of the building in case there might be an emergency within it. One thing I'm not going to show here is up here on the sanctuary level, we will be totally improving the aesthetics, putting in new carpet, painting the interior, putting in new mechanical systems here that are a lot more energy efficient, that hopefully will reduce the cost of operating your facility here. Likewise, in your educational wing, the new mechanical units are very highly efficient and usually lower the cost of your utility bills, which I think hopefully you all will agree with that. We also are looking at possibly, and this was something that came up last week, and I've not talked to Reverend Ray or Val about it, but I think we might want to consider putting some small single occupancy restrooms up on this level adjacent to the elevator there, so that if anyone during the service here has to go to the restroom, they don't have to take the elevator down and go to the restrooms down below, but we can put some restrooms right off the side over here, back off the vestibule, and I think that would be a nice accommodation. But that's something, if y'all would like to do that, let us know what we can add to the project. Okay, yes. Yeah. Getting up in my senior year, I totally agree. Restrooms are good, especially accessible restrooms. Okay, next one, Val. Okay, now we just had a question about the different levels. Oh, whoa, why is it doing that? I may be doing that, Val, now that I think about it. Maybe it's working now. Who knows? I'm not going to touch this. Okay, one more. We'll get to the... So this is a section, and for those of you who are not very familiar with looking at drawings as such, this may be kind of an abstract illustration for you. You may not be able to, let me kind of walk you through it. The yellow box there would be the elevator cab in which someone would be within that. And then you see these different levels here on either side. So basically what we're showing there is your social space down below is one level, the activity building is another level, your sanctuary building is at another level. So you got all these different heights of floor levels. And the only way to mitigate that is through an elevator that has openings on both sides. So when it's up on the sanctuary level, it opens there. But when it comes down to the activity building, it opens on the north side in this location here. So it serves a dual purpose of getting folks up and down and connecting the different levels of your structure here. Does that answer your question? Someone was asking about the elevator on those levels. Okay, we can go down to the next one, Val. You're doing very well, by the way. Okay, and when we were talking about restrooms just a minute ago, as you can see, we have plenty of women's restroom facilities as well as men. These will be in the educational wing, and this in the blue box would be in the sanctuary building in the lower level. So we are greatly increasing your restroom facilities here. Okay, we'll go down to the next one. And as noted earlier, we're going to be improving a lot of your infrastructure items here. Now, usually these are things that you don't normally see, such as your mechanical units. We'd be putting a new rooftop air handling unit for the educational wing, some mechanical systems here for the sanctuary area. All new electrical. Your electrical system is not the best, to put it politely. So we will improve all of the electrical in your campus here. And of course, all the plumbing, due to all the new restrooms and everything, you'll have all new plumbing infrastructure as well. So for the most part, you'll be basically getting a whole new building once this is all completed. Of course, some of you are sitting out there and asking, what does all of this cost, right? By the way, before we get into the cost, do we have any questions just on the design aspects of this? Yeah, well, okay, let's go left to right. How's that? Okay, first over here. Yes, that is correct. We'll have a grease trap within it. We'll have a range hood, extinguisher system, pretty much what you have there currently, but everything will be brought up to code, and we will be can be a catering kitchen primarily to serve the activity building. Okay, let me see. We'll go first here, and then we'll work our way back over. Yes, you're first. Yes. Yeah, both of those would be unisex, and again, that gets back down to dollars and functional layout. Typically, for the size of congregation that you have here, I would suggest 2, but if you want 1, we can do 1. But yeah, I would suggest 2. Sometimes it always seems like one toilet and one restroom always takes longer than the other, so just a thought, but we'll look at that. That's a detail still to be worked out. Yes. Right. Well, you're not losing it. We're actually going to relocate that. In the entry plaza, we have space there for the memorial plaques that you have there. We're going to recreate the entry plaza with some meditation space there. And I think, Reverend Ray, we were also talking about possibly this landscaped area over here for more meditation area. We haven't worked all those details out, but we do plan to keep the meditation garden in space, but move it out and away and all. We still have to work that out. Street side, that is correct, along Brook. Oh, okay, sorry about that. That's a good question. He asked that we repeat the question. The question was, what happens to the meditation garden in the courtyard? And so, yes, we do lose it with the educational wing expansion, but we're going to move it out. The plaza, the entry plaza, will have some elements of that, plus your other landscape features along the front. We're going to rework that and include meditation space there as well. Right. And we do have storage built into the educational wing if we were to go back to look at that. Doing very well, Val. Okay. So here we have some storage there that's off the kitchen area here. Where is some other storage? We have more storage. Well, right in this area here, yes, that's going to be all underneath that stairwell there in the activity building will all be storage. And then upstairs, in the upper level, this second floor space here will be storage areas as well because you will not be utilizing that for classrooms anymore. All that space will move out and move into the educational wing, but the upper level here will no longer have that. And you don't have to be worrying about carrying boxes up and down stairs because your elevator is going to get you to that level. Okay? Yes, it will be secured storage, and a lot of people will not know it's up there. So hopefully that makes sense. Yes, up front. No, not a lift. The question is, will the elevator be a full elevator? Yes, it will be. We still have to size the elevator, but it will hold a couple of people, a wheelchair and maybe one or two other people. Without the wheelchair, you'll probably be able to hold 4 or 5. But we will try and get it as large as we can make it within the space that we have. Yes? Yeah, there was a question about can we provide a gender-neutral bathroom? And yes, that's something we can look into. We can carve out some space of the one of these here. Of course, the ones that will be up here will be unisex. These two, this one or two that we provide up here will be unisex. Yeah, we'll look into the maybe a family-style sort of small restroom that you normally see at an airport or someplace like that. That's a good question. Thank you. Okay, so next over, okay, far.
Actually, I have two.
Okay.
I see the library is being replaced with offices. Are we going to keep the library in any form?
Yes, I believe so, correct? And I may have this mislabeled here. That may be the library, correct? I think.
Currently, that's valid.
I'll let Val. And the question was, what happens to the library? And that is still up in the air. It's going to be one of these spaces in the lower level. That still needs to be determined, but the library will still remain.
I actually have one more question.
Yes.
So currently, the activity center is above all the other classrooms, and if we're going to be using where classroom 3 is for bathroom space, are we going to lift everything up so that it's all one level so you can walk right out from the activity center?
Yes, yes, definitely, yes. Currently, and the question is, will the educational wing, I'll paraphrase, educational wing be the same level as the activity building? Yes, currently, as you know, you have steps or a ramp to get from one to the other, but correct. The educational wing will be the same elevation or floor level as the activity building. So when you come up this ramping system and you come in here, all this is going to be on the same level. You do not have to worry about steps or ramps or that sort of thing. Correct. Yes, definitely. Other questions? Yes, in the back here. Well, the question is, will the front steps still be used for this building? Yes, we will. We are still keeping the front steps as of now. That's not been a request to remove those. But you can still come in through the entry plaza here into the elevator if you have mobility issues. Yes, up front. That's something we just need to address. We've not gotten to that level of detail, but if that is required, we can provide that. We can definitely. That won't be an issue. Yeah, that's more down into the weeds, if you will, more details. And by the way, we're going to have more meetings. This isn't the only meeting. We're just not going to take your comments and then build something. We're going to probably come back several more times as the drawings progress and the project progresses. Other questions? Yes, up front. That is correct. Yes, the steps right up front. Yes, if we need to fix the handrail, we can do that. The question was, will we keep the steps and the handrails or fix the handrails out front? Yes, if that's an issue, we would need to correct that. The doors are being replaced, right, the glass. Okay, it's something we just have to look at. Good. Yeah, those are all good questions. Yes, up front here. The heating system, I believe all that's being upgraded. I'll let the Ware construction folks handle that, but I think all the air conditioning and heating is being upgraded so it'll be more efficient and less costly to operate. I don't think we're going to keep the radiators here. That's a little outmoded date of heating. Yes. Yes, in the center here. Where the garden area will be? Okay, yeah. So, oh, where it is now. The garden area right now is right here where these classrooms are located. So it's right in this section right here. So that's where your courtyard is. The question was, where is the meditation garden currently? So the meditation garden is right at that in the center section of the educational wing. So we're going to pull that out. We're going to create a plaza here with the memorial plaques within that. And then we're going to landscape the front area here. There's a nice area here that we can take advantage of and put more of the meditation garden at that location as well. We're just going to have to get into the landscape design on all of that. Okay. Questions? Other questions? Oh, yep. Oh, yes. Well, the intent is to not, well, it is a historic structure. It's a very landmark structure. And no, and our intent is not to impact any of the preservation or the historical heritage functions or the aesthetics of the building on the outside. As you know, the biggest part is going to be in the insertion of this building right at this location. That's why we're setting it back the way we are, to kind of break that plane so it's not actually out on the front facade. It's set back so that we minimize any impact of that on the historical section. And again, nothing else on the perimeter is going to be impacted. The back section here is going to be a vast improvement as to what you currently have that faces Napa Auto Parts on the parking lot side. So we think this is really going to improve the aesthetics on the alley and Napa side, even though that's the least side that's going to be seen. So no, this will all remain as is, and we'll keep that. We are, in fact, the canopies out front here on the activity building, we're going to try and restore those back to their original appearance. That is correct. One floor, that is correct. Yeah, we're not putting a basement in at this point unless you want us to put a basement in, but that's going to up the cost a little bit to do that. There may be I'm not sure how far up it is. There could be a crawl space down below. I don't know that. That's something to look at, whether or not there's any sort of external storage we can provide below the floor level there. I don't know. That's something we'll have to look into once we get into the details. Yeah.
One thing with this that we chose not to do at this point in time was to extend the second floor of the activity center out halfway and create more space on the second level of the activity center. That was a proposal, and we chose at this point in time not to do that, knowing that we could always go back later and add on to that if we choose to. We didn't see the need for it with this.
And so to go back over what Val was just saying, in the activity building, as you know, there's a mezzanine space that's up above, on the floor above this, and we had proposed another extension of that mezzanine space out over the activity building to give you even more space. But at this present time, we're not going to build that. But that is always an option into the future to gain more space should you need it. Yes, back over here.
So I know that in the garden right now, we have the walls with the windows that I know are deteriorating. If we bring everything up, I know we have to keep the outside of the building the same, right? So are
Right. The question is, how are we going? There's a. Oops, I hit the wrong button again. Sorry about that. Man, this thing's touchy. The question is, I think, let me make sure I have it right, that there are some windows along this east face of the activity building, and what happens to those windows. From the activity side of the building, we're going to frame those windows in so they look like windows. So like the windows are still there. But obviously, with the classroom on the other side, it's going to be blocked off. So you will not have any windows. So there will not be any daylight coming in to the activity building from the east side. But the window framing and all will remain there. But of course, you've got all these great windows along the front, so you'll have plenty of natural light coming into the activity building. Yeah.
So know that in some of these discussions with things like the windows and stuff, it's suggested. Some of it may be not given us the right to do, but code because of the Historical Preservation Society. So anything Steve answers, it's if we can get it through the proper channels. So it hold everything like with an open hand rather than, well, you said, you know, it's, because somewhat it's going to be what they agree to. Some things like the elevator, the ramp is a no-brainer because that helps us get more ADA compliant. A window, that's a little bit more of a dicey. So some of this stuff, just know that we talked about it, and then it'll have to go through a process of license and stuff like that.
I like the way you disclaim everything there, Reverend Ray. And again, that's one reason why we're putting the open air shaft over here to protect all your windows. So the intent in the sanctuary building is that all of these windows will remain with all the natural light that you have here. And then in the activity building, we do have to replace those windows in a manner due to how the classroom building is going up against them there. Good point. But yes, we have not gone to any code officials yet or down to the city with any of this. And of course, they always have certain nuances that they want us to address. But we will, again, this is a process, and we will have future meetings, and should things change, we'll point those out and explain why things had to change. But this is our best estimate at the present time. Yes, up front. By the way, you do not get any gifts or prizes for as many questions that you ask. Sorry about that. Okay, we're definitely on this side right here. We're going to have natural light because we were able to get windows on the east face. On this face here, if we were to put any windows in, we'd have to put skylights or something of that nature. And again, we just want to minimize your maintenance. Skylights tend to leak, so. Yes, that will be a flat roof as well. In fact, it was mentioned early on to put a green roof up at the top of there, and that's still up in the air, whether or not we can do that. It all comes down to dollars, as always. But we do have accessibility. We are going to take this elevator all the way up to the roof so that you would always have that possibility should you want to do that in the future. But at presently, we're not looking at doing that, but could very well be done. Yes. Oh, wait. Who's next? We have more questions. Yes, okay. Correct. Correct. Yes. Yes, it is. Oh, it's a very high vertical. In fact, it's been suggested to even subdivide that space and make that utilization of space as well. But it is a big size boiler room, and we do want to take advantage of that space. Yes, behind you there, you have any? Oh, sure, okay, thank you. Yes, up front here. Now, by adding a second floor, you're talking about here in the activity building, expanding the mezzanine? Oh, over the new building? No, as of right now, we're not proposing to put a second floor on top of that. Yeah, I would think you'd. It's going to be less expensive to put it in your activity building since it's already existing space. If we have to add on to the second floor of the new educational wing, that's definitely going to be a lot more expensive to do that. So, but that's a further discussion we'll have to go down the road and look at. But right now, our dollar figures do not include that cost of going vertical. Other questions? Yes. Talking about parking and the location of parking, I'll let Reverend Ray and Val, here Val's going to address it.
Okay, so we are landlocked, so we don't get any more parking space. And during the construction, we will have less parking space because we will have trailers parked with our equipment and stuff in it and with their supplies in it. Mike and I talked about that.
There was a suggestion about taking Brook Street. It's so wide that perhaps instead of parallel parking, we can do diagonal parking out there. That's what we do on East Market Street, where my office is. Everyone parks diagonally along that street. So there is a good we'd have to run this past the city to see if they'll allow us to do it. But that is a great suggestion to double up your parking and increase it there. Great. He was just indicating that the pavement is designed to allow that to happen. So definitely, if we can take advantage of that, that'd be super. Here, Ray is going to.
The other thing is, I talked to the people who bought the Archdiocese, and they indicated, though she wasn't at her level to make that agreement, her opinion was she wanted to be good neighbors and that we would still have access to their parking lot on Sundays. That, like a lot of businesses, most of their people don't work on the weekends, and we would be able to do it. So I'm going to guess that down the road we'll be able to use it. The other option is Mark Flesh, our former board president, has access to the possibility of being able to use a parking lot on the other side of the expressway, and then we might have to purchase like a bus, a little bus to ferry people back and forth. So. There's options that we'll have to address because they're not going to let us do anything if we can't guarantee the parking. So,
one good thing that you do not have here that we have to deal with in the Nulu district are restaurants. Restaurants on the weekend take all of our parking. So if we were to come down to our office on the weekends, we can't use it because the restaurants take all of our parking. Fortunately, you do not have that issue here on this part of South Louisville area. Other questions? Oh, you want to get in to see how much this is going to cost now? Oh, we'll stop here. Okay. Thank you all for attending, and we'll see you all next week. Okay, well, let's go and see how much this. So we've broken this down into segments, and we're not certain which segment should be. Obviously, ideally, it would be great to build it all at one time, but for the sanctuary building, we're looking at doing all the things. Oh, gosh, sorry, Val, that was me. I did that. So here at the sanctuary building, we have what's called the upper level and the lower level, and then you can see the bottom line right there. But everything that you see here is what we're going to be doing there. We're going to paint the walls, replace the carpet, replace the flat roofs, repair the plaster walls, improve upon the stained glass windows, demo the radiators, as I mentioned earlier, new AV equipment, and light fixtures in the sanctuary. Again, all of this is going to be especially on the light fixtures, it's going to be very energy efficient, and it should be able to lower your utility bills. The lower level, again, we're going to demo that old lift that you have there. The single person lift will be taken out. The restrooms will be upgraded, new cabinetry, new doors, paint the walls, replace the flooring, new ceiling down below, toilets, light fixtures, mechanical equipment, plumbing, And we're going to put in new, tie in the sump pumps with the new drains and the boiler room and copier. A lot of infrastructure related things there. No, this does not include the new elevator will be part of the educational wing price. Yes, it does include the HVAC for this building here. That's correct, yes. And that's a logistical thing we'll have to work out. And there might be able to, I'll let the wear constructors, that's on the wear people. I'll let them handle it. They've not had to handle any of these questions yet. I'll let them address that. Yes, way in the back. Oh, the cost is at the very bottom. Just for the sanctuary building, for this level and below level, it's about $1 million to do all the infrastructure. And again, a lot of it is infrastructure expense. Yes? Okay. Yeah, Ray is indicating that there's copies down below of this presentation, plus it's going to be in the website, the Facebook page, so you can take more look at this. Okay, we can go to the next location. This is the educational wing. And this is the expensive portion of all of this, because we're going to have to demolish the, be all new construction is what we're doing. And so here we're replacing the educational wing, the new elevator that you see, the new roofing, those are those exterior walls of the activity building we're having to infill. The historic bookcase that's there in one of the spaces, and the fireplace, we're going to retain that and reinstall that. New classrooms with movable partitions, the new elevator, new staircase, egress to the alley, new light fixtures, new mechanical, the grease trap for the kitchen, new sprinkler system, and plumbing fixtures. So again, a lot of infrastructure things there as well. So this one is around $3 million, rounded off a bit. We can go to the next one there. This is the activity building. We're going to improve upon it. Again, the restrooms that are currently in the activity building, we're going to have to remove those, but we're building all new, so taking some out, putting some new ones in. The new canopies, storefront and all. The plaster and the interior wall finish has some issues associated with it, and so we're going to have to do some new work to that. That's what that laminated existing walls deals with. The ceilings will be repaired, as well as the walls and the ceilings painted. All new light fixtures, new mechanical, and then new finishes up on the upper level and also, and a new roof. So, but that's only about $500,000. That's the least expensive item. Did this also have the new stage lighting within it as well? I'm not certain. I think this has the new stage lighting. I know that was an issue. Okay, we'll go to the next. Cost estimate for the exterior. So this is going around the exterior and improving some things. We're going to be doing the new ramp that I mentioned earlier, rebuilding those canopies on the exterior, possibly putting, we're going to replace the plexiglass protection that you have on your stained glass and put in new tempered glass protection. So we're going to put in new, basically storm windows on the exterior of the building to protect your stained glass. New light fixtures. We're going to spotlight the dome so that when people are driving along I-65, and we're just going to do the front portion of the dome. I don't think the Napa Auto Parts people needs to see the back of the dome at night. But on the front, on I-65, we want to really celebrate this structure. I don't know how many thousands of people go by I-65 on a daily basis, but you have a wonderful way to give some identity to your worship here by highlighting the building, and one way we're going to do it is spotlighting the dome of the building at night. Improving upon the masonry, repairing that, painting the exterior trim, rework existing sign masonry, and replace announcement inserts, so some signage improvements there also. So the exterior, and this includes both the activity building and the sanctuary building, that's about $500,000 to do all those improvements there. Yes. She was talking about somehow was it what type of board? A digital board that faces I-65 to kind of highlight unity of Louisville, and that's something that we can discuss. But yeah, I thought about that as well. And you've got a lot of people go by, everyone sees this dome, everyone knows this building, but you really need to promote it a little bit better. Okay, and you're very accessible at this location too. You're very central to Louisville, both to west, south, and east, plus southern Indiana. I mean, you got a great location here. Allowances, so we put in some additional money to take care of some electrical, fire alarm, not replace, but salvage the historical bricks and the pavers of the alley. Again, this gets back to some of the historic preservation related items that we may or may not have to do. We're not certain if we have to do this or not, but we're just anticipating they may request that to do. Talking about the relocation of the memorial pavers, the landscaping, and this is always something that we get involved is all the utility fees and things of that nature. So again, a lot of infrastructure related things that you don't normally see. So around $200,000 for that. And we do not have a grand total. I'll let y'all who has been adding this up in your head to figure out the grand total. Yes, in the back. And I'm going to let Ware Constructors answer this one. This is Nick Fears with Ware.
So this would be built in phases. We wouldn't come in and tear your whole campus up and expect you guys to still be able to operate. So we would build this in phases. I think we were, 14 to 16 months, I think, total. Ideally, you would do some of the work back here. Maybe we'll let you relocate some of your services maybe to the activity building once it's not taking in water and it's been repaired and you get the activities building, and then come back and do this building. Now, some of that's going to be dictated by utilities, because some of the utilities that are in this building may or may not service the new building and the activity center, but you're probably looking in the 14 to 16 months time frame. Yes. Weather. The spring rains this year, which we really didn't have a spring, it just rained and the sun never came out. We lost some time on some jobs because of that. So we are going to be doing some exterior work, so that could potentially be impacted.
Of course, it all comes down to fundraising, but no, you can do it phased and implement it as needed. Of course, the educational wing is an all single, it's $3 million, and you really can't break that up, but you can do various other, whether or not you do all the activity building at this time or not, that's something, but it all comes down to fundraising and what you can raise, and then we'll look at what dollars we have and then phase it from there. But this gives you a good master plan. If you can't do it within the first year and a half, maybe you can do it all in 5 years or 10 years. It gives you a nice goal to look at and shoot for. Oh yes, from a financial sense, because costs always tend to go up and they're not going down any. Unless they are. What do you think, Nick? Are costs been going up or down lately?
Up. So we're a member of several national organizations, and for years, every year, labor rates were going up because there's less and less craftsmen in our industry. It's a big problem. We could have a whole discussion on that. But now you're starting to see, with the economy picking up and building picking up, the material pricing is starting to go up as well, almost to a rate that we haven't probably seen in about 10 years. So it's always cheaper to do it now. I mean, that's what I tell clients all the time. And we could put the elevator in over there and not touch this building, but then we got to think when the elevator comes to the ground floor, I think right now it's opening up where the restrooms are at. So if you can do it now, it's always better.
Some other questions on this? Oh, he's scratching your head. That kind of fakes us out when you do that. Yes, up front. Yes.
Well, I can answer it from the questions we asked because that's a great question. So, her question was, how does this enhance the board's vision of being more, and kind of the congregational vision of being more integrated into the Smoketown neighborhood and this neighborhood? And one of the reasons why we expanded the education wing was to make us more flexible and available. That's why we put the dividers in. The more we allow, and especially when we make ourselves accessible for the different, for those who have maybe some mobility challenges, it makes us even more. So how we integrate will be dependent on what the neighborhood needs, but Val's already joined the board for Smoketown. We're already having groups from Smoketown have used our activity center. Somewhat they get limited because we're not accessible. So the more that we can offer, the more then we can be available. So.
Chuck, you want to get into this one? So basically, I mean, I can answer it, but it's really it's really a board thing.
Okay, are we going to have a discussion at some point down the road? When we first started down this road, whether we were going to buy the building over here from all that, okay. Are we going to look at all the possibilities? Because when we first started in, we were going to see how much it costs to fix this. There's no doubt we love it. And I wish I had the funds to just say, oh, we'll take care of that. Or are we going to look at relocating the church somewhere? What are all of our alternatives, and are we going to explore those?
Yes. No. That's the short answer. Here's what the board is thinking, and some of this is because they have chosen me to speak. We need to make a conscious and well-informed decision that it is done in a transparent manner in which we build consensus about what we want to do. This is the first time that the congregation has had a price for what it would take to stay here, and to stay here for 30, 50 years or beyond. So we've got that. That is an alternative. And one of the questions, that's a $5 million project. Okay, one of the questions is, if we were all living in southern Indiana and we decided to move across the river to Louisville, and this property as designed was available, sitting right here, would we pay $5 million for it? That's one way of looking at it. And the answer might be yes, and we would do it enthusiastically because it meets all of our needs. Because as designed, it really will meet all of our needs for the next 30 to 50 years. But that becomes the question. Do we want to be here for 30 to 50 years? Do we want to explore other alternatives? If we say no to this project, then we logically are saying, yes, we have to move. Because we cannot stay here, be responsible, and let the buildings crumble down around us. Our membership will leave if we do that. The buildings will become unmanageable. We'll go through the Anderson Fund in a New York minute trying to make the repairs. So we have to make a choice. That choice either is stay and do something like this. That's why I asked the question, is this an organic whole, or can we make choices to do just part of it? I have a sense that to be where we want to be here for 30 to 50 years, to do what we need to do, we've got to do the whole thing, or we've got to go somewhere else. Now, there are all kinds of, I know the big question in everybody's mind is, how in the hell are we going to afford $5 million? How into heaven are we going to afford $5 million? There's a lot of questions we have to ask, and there's a lot of things we need to determine. Can we, for example, get money through Smoketown in the city to spend to help support the renovation of the education center and the activity center? I haven't got the foggiest idea, but we haven't asked that question. And another one is, okay, let's say we want to go somewhere else. What's that going to cost? We're going to have to know that. So what the board, I think I can speak fully for the board in saying this, we are committed to making a decision. We're committed to making that decision with as much information as we can possibly get. We're going to do that in a, as I mentioned earlier, in a transparent method. We need to get feedback from all of our stakeholders. We need to talk to everybody, as many people as we can reach, to find out, are you willing to commit what it would take to spend $5 million to get to do this? Do we want to stay here? And then if we have the least bit of doubt, we also have to, I think, simultaneously explore what are our alternatives, including possibly renting space in a strip mall, leasing a building. The Catholics are abandoning churches all over town. There may be one worth buying, I don't know. But high likelihood if we buy an existing church, it's going to have the same issues that this one does. Long-term deferred maintenance, lack of parking, not necessarily in the best parts of town, and there are certain advantages to being in or near the central business district. We may have to explore both of those options at the same time, but we cannot just stay here and do nothing. I personally will pledge to force a decision, speaking on behalf of the board, that we are going to make a decision one way or another because we have to. It is our time, our place, it's our responsibility to do that. That's why we need everybody's best thinking. And that's why I really appreciate everybody coming here and staying here to get an understanding of what this is. And this proposal is not set in stone. You know, there are things that can be moved on the margin, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what those marginal changes are. We're looking at a $5 million project. We just are.
If you were looking to move from your current home because it didn't meet your needs, looking at what's available helps you make that decision. Once we have that information, we can say, holy crap, we can stay here a lot easier, fix it the way we want, or, geez, oh, Pete, we need to get out of town. No, Pete, sorry about that.
Your name isn't Pete, is it? Yes, it is, as a matter of fact. So, that said, it's time to make a decision.
Thing here is for the past 5 or 6 years, I'm not sure why someone hasn't actively been looking at other alternatives of moving.
Mark Helms originally had looked a couple years ago, looked to see what was available. And all I can tell you, he looked and, you know, I'm not even sure that buying another church is necessarily the wisest way to go if we're not going to fix this. I think we probably, for me, I think we'd probably be better off renting a space or leasing a space someplace, but I don't know. You know, I haven't done it for a couple years, so no.
And that's exactly the kind of questions we need to ask and will ask. I think it's time for us to commit to look at other alternatives, including leasing. For a short while, I was a member of Unity of Austin. They, in Texas, they leased space in a strip mall. And they had plenty of parking. There was never any issue of lighting. It was more than enough space. It was flexible space. That's one alternative. We may be able to go and lease another church. We may be able to lease space in a strip mall or in an office building that is adequate for our purposes. And if we did that, that wouldn't commit us to doing that from now and forever. We might end up doing that for a while we find a different location if we choose to not stay here. Again, if we don't do this deal, we have, in effect, chosen to move, just the way it is.
Just so we're all clear, if we decide to do this, or if we decide to move, whichever way it goes, we will be raising money outside of our community. We will not be doing it with the people that have their butts in the pews. It will have to come through grants, going to people, organizations, and asking. We will have to step out in faith and get into action and actually recruit funds from other places.
The other thing I wanted to mention, we do have a community meeting coming up on the 8th of July. This probably will be not the only topic, but a major topic. And the board is committed to reach out to hold as many small group meetings so that people can say what they want to say in a smaller situation. We're not going to make a decision on this today. That was not our intent. The intent was to get the information out. And we're not going to make a decision on July 8th. But we do need to make a decision soon. They say that delay is the deadliest form of denial. And this is my most favorite pun. Denial is more than just a river in Egypt. So we have to move. We don't have to move tomorrow. It's not going to cost us $100,000 a month while we're making the decision, although it's probably close to that. But we do need to look at all of our alternatives, and we will do that in a transparent manner.
Just quickly, you know, you keep saying the board is committed to making a decision, the board is committed to doing something. Is the board going to be looking for those other alternatives and bringing us those options in the near future? Like, what would it cost to be in a strip mall? Would we sell this building then? You know, is the board going to...
If we were to leave here, we would need to sell the building. What can we get for it? Bob Coffey years ago said we could get $1. Alan offered $2. I think we can get a lot more than that. I haven't got the foggiest idea what it would take to standing here right now. I couldn't tell you what it would take. But that's the kind of research that we need to do. Yes, absolutely.
Real quick, by bylaw, the board can't make a decision to sell the building. It takes 70% of the membership, voting membership that's in attendance for a vote. So the board wouldn't be making a decision. What the board is committed to is guiding us to a point that we make a decision, because the board can't commit $5 million. Right. I just wanted to make it clear.
I want to know what all the other options are.
And Judy, that's fair. That's what I think you're speaking for. We all want to know that. Carla?
Thank you, Val. I never thought about grant money. I didn't think about the other income streams we could check out. Also, the school. And I don't know, when is the school supposed to start? What will we do with it while we're doing this? And what would we look eventually, if we had everything up and running, what would the school bring in? Do we have a number or no?
Okay, I'm going to put a pause on this for just a minute. Great questions. We'll get back to you. I want Steve to be able to finish what he needs to do because he needs to leave. And then can we pick up the conversation there? Okay. What? Okay, so if anybody has a question for Steve specifically, let's ask it.
I have to leave also, and I just wanted to say that I keep thinking about some people in a small group of committed people in 1957 trying to make a decision of what to do, and they had the vision, and this is it. We're sitting in their vision. They bought this building then, and I just want us to think about keeping our vision, and I also want to say a great thank you to the board and Valerie Ray, the staff, everybody for doing all of this work to get us to this point today, where we can make a more informed decision.
Okay, so if we can keep the questions to Steve. Any design questions?
After looking at all our deficiencies, if you had to say the one big thing that would absolutely break our back and take us down to where we couldn't open and work, what would that be?
Yeah, it's going to have to be the infrastructure issue. Your mechanical system is going to be a significant cost of all of this. Nick, anything else on yours? That would be my estimation. And the roof, yes. The roof on the activity building definitely needs to be replaced no matter what you do. Yeah, and the wall is crumbling over there. It's not a significant cost, but it is a cost. But your mechanical system is probably the larger cost of all. I'd have to go back. We'd have to go back and look at the numbers and all that. We don't have that at our fingertips. Yes. One, lack of space. It's very small and not functional the way you currently have it, and plus all the new programs that you're going to be utilizing. Number two, it's just got a lot of, if you've walked through it, you know it has different undulating floors. The structural system isn't the best. The roof, yeah, it was not built in the same manner as this building or the activity building. It was built in a very less costly manner, let's put it that way. And it's served its purpose and it's past its time. And it's not historic. Yes. Annual maintenance cost. So you're talking about what maintenance cost? Was that preventative maintenance? Yeah, well, the new building, it's going to have all new efficient infrastructure within it, which means it's going to be a lot less costly. I'm just currently doing a project, a renovation project, and the new maintenance cost or the infrastructure cost is going to be 1/3 of what this facility currently is paying. So you got a lot better mechanical systems, lighting systems. LED itself is just a wonderful cost saving. So yeah, it should be less expensive to operate this facility. Okay, any other questions? Oh gosh, more, yes, in the back. The question is, this is a historical building, and was that taken into consideration? Yes, most definitely. Yeah, we have to maintain the aesthetics of the exterior. Plus, even on the interior, you have that nice fireplace and bookcase that's in the educational wing currently. We're going to salvage all that, save that, and relocate it. But yes, whatever we do has to be done for preservation reasons. However, for the most part, a lot of it is just maintenance related in of itself. For the most part, you're in fairly good shape here historically. There's not a whole lot that we have to do to enhance that. Yes. Yeah, that's always the question. What would you do if it was your money, right? Well, again, you need to look at your congregational demographics. That was one of the questions raised as to where your denomination or congregation is coming from. I'd have to look at those demographics, whether or not this location meets those. That's always a big concern. And so I do not have that sort of census information to make that sort of but I will say the money that we're spending here for this type of campus is very reasonable and affordable. $5 million, I know it sounds like a lot, but if we were going to rebuild this campus the way it is, it's much more. So renovation is always a lot less expensive than new construction for the most part. Right. No, 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 no. You're not at a point where everything's collapsing. You still should be able, if you do elect to sell this campus, I'm sure there's someone out there who would love to buy the campus and do something with it, just like they did across the street over here and other locations. I will say this, I am familiar with a lot of the historic churches in the urban core here, and a lot of them, most of them have a lot more issues associated with them than what you've got here. That's one reason why those congregations are abandoning those structures, is because they're way past deterioration, their mechanical systems are no longer functioning, they've got all sorts of problems. So that's going to be a concern no matter what other church that you might be looking at purchasing, it's going to have infrastructure issues as well that you have to go in and spend money on. I know St. Peter's over here at 13th and Jefferson, their building is still there. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It's at Big Stone, a beautiful church there at 13th and Jefferson Street. And they relocated into a retail strip mall about 2 blocks to the west. And they're still in that strip mall, but they are currently raising money to restore their church and move back into their church. They want to be into the church. They do not like the presence of being in a retail mall. And I've been involved in those discussions with those folks. Okay. Oh yeah, I do have another meeting at 2 o'clock. I have to.
So I want to honor Steve's time for the time he's given us, and so I want us to just thank him for being here and answering the question. And Nate's still here if we have any. He's got more construction answers, but if anybody has any other questions. So Steve, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And if you have any questions,
So any other question? What I'm going to suggest is sit in it a little while. We're not at a decision point. All this will be up on our Facebook page, on our website. We'll have copies of it. If you're one of those people who really likes a paper, you know, we have some copies of stuff downstairs. Sit in it for a little bit just to think about it. I just talked to Chuck. We will actually, for the questions like Carla and Dolores said, we'll contact a commercial real estate tomorrow. I'll do that as I'm actually in a workshop about grant writing tomorrow because there's some grants for historic buildings that for town neighborhoods like Smoketown, and they're going to teach us how to ask them for the money so they can give it to us. So I'm going to be doing that. When I get back, we'll call a couple commercial real estate people and have them start exploring some options for us to give us some more information. And as soon as anything that comes in, my commitment is I will get it out in multiple ways, including on Sunday, the e-news, Facebook, website. I got a couple passenger pigeons. If you give me your address, I'll send them out to you. So, Dolores. No. There's not. No, and it's also not our church. It's not our church, so it's not our option. So they haven't approached us. They have their own board. They're in their process of trying to attract a minister. It actually is too small. They have no youth facilities. It really wouldn't meet the needs of this congregation. No, you know, this congregation size, the sanctuary size might meet it for right now, but without the youth program, they have one little room for like one schoolhouse. So no. It's like 240 membership and then about 240 who are not members who come on a regular basis. And the regular basis is at least once a month. And then however many people are watching us live stream now that we're doing live stream. So, which is another form that you can tap into. I can't hear you, Rob. I want to make sure I got all the questions answered first. Did you have a question? We haven't made a decision on the Montessori, so I can't give you that answer. So that's actually been put off. We're having a meeting tomorrow night where we're going to get more clarity on if we're going to go forward this fall or if we're going to postpone. So that was actually the decision of the board to postpone it for 1 week until our meeting tomorrow night. As soon as I know, I'll give you the financials. I'll put it out. And what we would do with the children in the meantime is the same thing we'll do with the congregation, is we will be flexible and move them around in different parts of the building because we're not going to do it all at once. So. All right, Robin, go ahead. That would be a board decision. That would probably, one of the ministers who I first trained under, Jim Rosemergy, was in Unity of one of the Florida churches, and they were building a new sanctuary. When I called him and asked him about capital campaign, he said, don't try to do it yourself. Hire a professional fundraiser, hire a development officer. So my suggestion would be, but it'll be a board decision, is to hire a development officer who is trained in knowing what to go for, how to go after it, and how to raise the money. Also, the bank has also said if we raise a certain percentage, they would follow up and cover the rest for us, so we don't need to raise the whole amount. Yes. No, not give us the money. They would write us a loan. That would be nice. Anything? So I just want us to, any more questions? I don't want to cut anybody off. That's not that's not my consciousness. So the one thing I want you to go back to is, for everybody who was here, is the idea of a vision. So think about what your vision is for this community. Yes, we need to have facts and we need to have details, but we start with that vision of what we want to create and what either this building or something else would create, and hold that and see what that comes to. And you can ask us questions throughout the week, or July 8th, we're going to have another town hall meeting and bring more questions. So, any other questions? No. You know, I prayed us in. Reverend Val, would you pray us out?
So let's just take a breath. And say thank you for this opportunity to be in the question, to allow the process to unfold as we continue to move forward with our vision to transform ourselves and others in life. And we see this process unfolding with ease and grace, knowing that the right and perfect place for us to worship is already manifested. And whatever it looks like will be revealed very, very quickly. And we see that unfolding now and always as we move forward. And so it is. Amen.